The phone rang at the worst possible time. Damien Locke stood before floor-to-ceiling windows, champagne in hand, watching the city lights blur into gold beneath him. The merger was done. $3 billion. His company just swallowed its biggest competitor whole, and every person in that glass tower knew his name meant power. His assistant burst through the door, face tight. "Sir, there's a call. They said it's urgent." You wave her off. "Tell them I'm busy." They said it's about Alara. The champagne glass nearly slipped from his fingers. That name. He hadn't heard it spoken aloud in 2 years. Hadn't allowed himself to think it. Alara belonged to a version of himself he'd buried under steel and success. Put it through. The voice on the other end was professional, detached. "Mr. Locke, this is St. James Hospital. We have a patient here who listed you as her emergency contact. Alara Locke. Well, I suppose it's Alara Monroe now. She's been admitted, and we need you to come in immediately." His throat went dry. "What happened?" "I can't discuss details over the phone, sir. But it's serious. She's asking for you." The line went dead before he could respond. Around him, executives laughed and clinked glasses, celebrating the kill. But all Damien could see was rain. Her walking away that night, barefoot on wet pavement, shoulders shaking. He'd stood at the window of their penthouse and watched her disappear into the storm, divorce papers still warm from the printer. He told himself he felt nothing, that she was just another chapter closed. Now his hand trembled against the cold glass. "Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story." Damien left without a word. His assistant called after him, confused, but he was already in the elevator, descending through 50 floors of everything he'd built. Everything he'd chosen over her. The drive to the hospital felt like falling through time. His Bentley cut through traffic, sleek and fast, just like everything in his life. Empty speed. The city blurred past, neon signs reflecting off the hood, but all he saw were fragments of her. The way she'd smiled on their wedding day. How she'd curl up with a sketch pad on Sunday mornings, barefoot and humming. The exact shade of hurt in her eyes when she found the text messages from Miranda. He'd called her dramatic, told her she was holding him back. God, what had he become? The hospital loomed ahead, all harsh white lights and sterile angles. He parked crooked, didn't care. His shoes echoed through the emergency entrance, expensive leather on cheap tile. A nurse looked up, saw his face, and pointed without asking. 3rd floor, room 312. His heart hammered against his ribs. Each step up those stairs felt like walking toward judgment. What would he say? What could he say? 2 years of silence, and now she called for him. Why? To curse him? To forgive him? He didn't deserve either. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and fear. Room 312. The door was half open. He pushed through. Alara lay there, so pale she looked like a ghost of herself. Machines beeped softly around her, tracking a heartbeat that seemed too fragile to be real. Her dark hair spread across the pillow, longer than he remembered, thinner than she should be. For lines ran into her arm like plastic veins. A doctor appeared beside him, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Locke, she's stable for now, but she's been struggling for months. Malnutrition, exhaustion, stress-induced complications. She's been carrying a heavy load alone." "Alone," Damien repeated. The word tasted like ash. That's when he saw it, taped to the wall beside her bed. A child's drawing in crayon, all crooked lines and bright colors. 2 stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun. The word scrawled at the bottom in uneven letters, "Mommy and me." His blood went cold. "Doctor," he said slowly, "does she have? Are you my daddy?" The voice came from behind him, small and clear as a bell. Damien turned. Standing in the doorway, clutching a worn teddy bear, was a little girl with Alara's eyes and his dark hair. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old. She looked up at him with the kind of hope that could break a man in half. Have you ever had a secret from your past show up and change everything you thought you knew about your life? Drop your thoughts below. Damien couldn't breathe. The little girl stood there, teddy bear clutched to her chest, waiting for an answer he didn't have. Her eyes were Alara's, that deep brown that used to see right through him. But the shape of her face, the stubborn set of her jaw, that was all him. His voice cracked. He negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking, fired hundreds without flinching. But 4 words from a child had destroyed him completely. A nurse swept in, gentle but firm. "Hazel, sweetie, let's give the grown-ups a minute, okay?" She guided the girl out, but not before Hazel looked back at him one more time, hope still burning in those eyes. The doctor cleared his throat. "She's been asking about her father for weeks. Ms. Monroe never listed one on any documents. Only you, as emergency contact." Damien stared at Alara's sleeping form. For years old. The timeline clicked into place like a gun loading. Their last night together. She'd reached for him, crying, begging him to remember who they used to be. He'd pushed her away, told her he had a morning meeting, told her Miranda understood his ambitions in ways she never could. 3 weeks later, he'd served her divorce papers. She'd signed them without a fight, walked out barefoot into the rain. He'd assumed she'd be fine. Alara was strong, talented, independent. She'd find someone better, move on, thrive without him weighing her down. He never imagined she was pregnant, never imagined she'd face it alone. "How long has she been sick?" His voice sounded hollow. "She was admitted yesterday, collapsed at her daughter's preschool during pickup. But according to her records, she's been deteriorating for months, working 2 jobs, raising a child alone, barely sleeping. Her body just gave out. 2 jobs. Damien's net worth had hit $9 billion last quarter, and his ex-wife had been working herself to death just to survive. He pulled out his phone, fingers shaking. 3 missed calls from his assistant. 7 texts from Miranda asking where he disappeared to. A notification about tomorrow's board meeting. His entire empire condensed into a glowing screen. None of it mattered. He scrolled back further, something nagging at his memory. 6 months ago, the redevelopment project on 5th Street. His company had bought the whole block, demolished it, built luxury condos. There'd been pushback from some small businesses. An art gallery owner had protested, claimed they destroyed her livelihood. He'd ignored it. Progress didn't wait for nostalgia. His blood turned to ice. That art gallery, the name on the permits, Monroe Studios, Alara's gallery. He destroyed it without even knowing, without even checking. His company had erased 6 years of her work, her dream, her income, and he'd signed off on it between golf games. "Mr. Locke, are you all right?" He wasn't. He'd never be all right again. The door creaked. Hazel peeked back in, the nurse trying to hold her back but failing. The girl had her mother's stubbornness too. She walked right up to Damien, small and fearless. "Mommy draws you sometimes," she whispered. "In her sketchbook. She cries when she draws you, but she says you're not coming back. Are you coming back?" Every word was a knife. Clean, precise, lethal. He knelt down, a level with his daughter. His daughter. The reality of it crashed through him like a wave. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Hazel Rose Monroe. I'm 4 3/4. Do you know my birthday?" He didn't. Didn't know her favorite color, her favorite food, what scared her at night, what made her laugh. He'd missed everything, every single moment. August 17th, the nurse offered quietly. Damien did the math. 9 months after their last night together. The night he'd chosen his empire over his wife, over his family, over everything that actually mattered. "Hazel," he said, voice breaking. "I'm..." The machines beside Alara's bed started screaming. Alarms pierced the air. Nurses rushed in, pushing him aside. The doctor barked orders, sharp and urgent. Alara's body convulsed, back arching off the bed. "She's seizing. Get the crash cart." Hazel screamed. Damien grabbed her, pulled her close, covering her eyes as medical staff swarmed her mother. The little girl sobbed into his chest, and he held her like he should have held Alara 2 years ago, like he should have done every day since. Clear. Alara's body jerked. Once. Twice. The monitors flatlined for a horrible, endless second, then beat back to life. Damien closed his eyes, and for the first time in a decade, he prayed. What would you do if you discovered you had a child you never knew existed? Tell us in the comments. Morning light crawled through the hospital blinds, gray and cold. Damien hadn't slept. Couldn't. He'd spent the night in a plastic chair, Hazel curled up on his lap, her small fingers gripping his tie. She cried herself to sleep around midnight, whispering mommy between sobs. He'd held her, this tiny stranger who was his daughter, and felt the full weight of every choice he'd ever made. Alara had stabilized. The doctor said she'd wake up soon. Maybe. Probably. Medicine always dealt in maybes. His phone had died hours ago. 17 missed calls from Miranda. 42 emails. None of it touched him anymore. His whole life had been reduced to this room, this moment, this chance at redemption he didn't deserve. Hazel stirred, lifting her head. Her hair stuck up in wild directions. She looked at him with sleepy confusion, then seemed to remember. Her face crumpled. Is Mommy okay? She's resting. She's a fighter just like you. How do you know I'm a fighter? Because you survived without me, he thought. I can tell. You're strong. She studied him with that unnerving child honesty, the kind that strips away every lie adults tell themselves. Mommy said my daddy was important, that he had important work. Are you important? The question gutted him. I thought I was. I was wrong. Oh, she processed this, serious as a judge. Can I have pancakes? The shift was so sudden he almost laughed. Kids lived in the present, bouncing between tragedy and breakfast without pause. He envied that. Let's find you some pancakes. The hospital cafeteria was depressing, all fluorescent lights and the smell of burnt coffee. But Hazel attacked her pancakes like she hadn't eaten in days. Maybe she hadn't. He didn't know. Didn't know anything about his own child's life. Mommy makes them better, she said through a mouthful of syrup. She makes them shaped like animals. Mine are usually elephants because I like elephants. What's your favorite animal? He couldn't remember the last time anyone asked him something so simple, so real. I don't know. I guess I never thought about it. She looked at him like he'd said something sad. That's okay. You can think about it now. A woman approached their table, mid-50s, worn face, but kind eyes. She wore paint-stained jeans and carried herself with the weary dignity of someone who'd survived hard times. You must be Damien. It wasn't a question. Her voice carried judgment sharp as glass. I am Claire, Alara's friend and business partner. Or I was, before your company destroyed everything we built. She pulled out a chair without being invited, sat down. Hazel, honey, why don't you go watch the fish tank over there for a minute? The adults need to talk. Hazel looked between them, sensing tension, but obeyed. Smart kid. Claire leaned forward. I know who you are. I know what you did. Alara never told you about the baby because she didn't want your guilt money. She wanted to build something real for her daughter, something that wasn't tainted by you. Each word landed like a punch. When your company demolished our gallery, she lost everything. 6 years of work gone overnight. She sold every painting she had left just to keep Hazel fed. Took night shifts at a diner. Did freelance design work until 3 in the morning. And when Hazel got sick last year, heart problems, needed treatments, Alara sold her wedding ring. Her grandmother's necklace. Every single thing of value. Damien's hands clenched under the table. What kind of heart problems? Congenital defect. Needs regular monitoring, possible surgery in the future. Costs about $3,000 a month with insurance. Without it, $20,000. Guess which one Alara had? He felt sick. She never asked you for help, Claire continued. Never called. Never showed up at your office. She had pride, that woman. More than you ever deserved. But yesterday, when she collapsed, when she thought she might die and leave Hazel alone, she broke. Listed you as emergency contact. Not because she wanted you back. Because she wanted her daughter to have someone. The cafeteria felt too small. Too bright. He couldn't escape this. Couldn't negotiate his way out. Couldn't throw money at it and make it disappear. I want to help. Claire laughed, bitter. Now you want to help. 2 years late. After she nearly died. After your company destroyed her life's work. After she raised your daughter alone while you played billionaire with your mistress. She stood up. Alara's awake. The nurses just told me. I suggest you think very carefully about what you say to her. Because that woman in there, she doesn't need your help. She needs you to stay gone. She walked away, collected Hazel, whispered something in her ear. Hazel waved at him, small and innocent, unaware of the war being fought around her. Damien sat there, alone in a room full of people, and realized something terrifying. Claire was right. Everything he'd built, every dollar he'd made, every deal he'd closed, none of it could fix this. Success couldn't resurrect the dead parts of his soul, but maybe failure could. He took the elevator back to the third floor, stood outside room 312. Through the small window, he could see her. Alara, awake, sitting up, looking at her hands like they belonged to someone else. He pushed the door open. She looked up. Those eyes, once full of love, now empty as winter. So, you came. Her voice was different, colder, harder. The Alara he knew had been warm, soft, full of laughter. This woman had been forged in fire he'd lit. I didn't know, he said, about Hazel, about any of it. I know. That's why I didn't tell you. She smiled. It was the cruelest thing he'd ever seen. You want to know why I called you? Why I finally broke my promise to myself and dragged you back into our lives. He waited, because I realized something while I was dying. She leaned forward, eyes burning. You don't get to forget. You don't get to build your empire and pretend we never existed. So yes, I called you. Not for me. For her. Because one day, Hazel's going to ask about her father, and I want her to see exactly who you are. The machines beeped. Regular. Steady. Unlike his heartbeat. I'm sorry, he whispered. Sorry doesn't pay for heart medication, Damien. Sorry doesn't rebuild a gallery. Sorry doesn't raise a child alone at 3 a.m. when she's crying for a father who doesn't exist. Alara's hands shook, but her voice stayed level. You destroyed me. Fine. I survived. But you don't get to play hero now. A nurse entered with discharge papers. Alara signed them without looking away from him. There's something else you should know, she said, folding the papers slowly. Claire's bringing me documents tomorrow. I'm suing for full custody rights and half your company. The divorce settlement was signed under duress. I was pregnant, alone, scared. My lawyer says I have a case. His world tilted. So if you came here looking for forgiveness? Alara stood, weak but steady. You're about to learn what it costs to abandon your family. She walked past him, stopped at the door. Oh, and Damien? Your company's redevelopment project? The one that destroyed my gallery? I kept every email, every document, every shady permit approval. See you in court. The door closed behind her. Damien stood there, surrounded by the beeping machines and the ghost of who he used to be, and realized something profound. He was about to lose everything, and he deserved every second of it. Have you ever watched someone you hurt come back stronger? Drop your thoughts below. The media storm hit before Damien made it back to his office. Billionaire's secret love child exposed. Damien Locke's hidden family scandal. The ex-wife returns from shadows with shocking paternity claim. His phone had recharged in the car, and now it exploded with notifications. His PR team in panic mode. Board members demanding explanations. Investors circling like sharks, smelling blood. And Miranda. 53 calls from Miranda in 3 hours. He answered the last one. Where the hell are you? Her voice could cut diamonds. Do you have any idea what's happening? TMZ has pictures of you holding some random child. Stock dropped 4% in 2 hours. 4%, Damien. She's not random. She's my daughter. Silence. Sharp. Dangerous. Excuse me. Alara was pregnant when we divorced. I didn't know. But Hazel is mine. More silence. Then, you're telling me you knocked up your ex-wife and abandoned her? Are you trying to destroy us? Us. Like they were a team. Like Miranda had been there for anything other than the lifestyle, the status, the reflected glory of his empire. I'm handling it, he said. Handling it? The engagement party is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And you're making me look like a fool. Get rid of this problem, Damien. Pay her off. Make her sign an NDA. Do whatever you did to build your company. Just make it go away. Something inside him snapped. Clean. Final. Her name is Alara. My daughter's name is Hazel. And they're not a problem to solve. Then what are they? The only real thing I've ever had. He hung up, turned off his phone, let the empire burn. His penthouse felt like a mausoleum. All glass and steel and expensive emptiness. Modern art on the walls that cost more than most people made in a lifetime. A view of the city that stretched to infinity. Everything he'd wanted. Everything he'd fought for. It meant nothing. He opened his laptop, started digging, found the file on the Fifth Street redevelopment project. Read through every document, every email, every approval. And there it was, buried in the permits. Monroe Studios, art gallery, owner, Hilaire Monroe. His assistant had flagged it, asked if they should reach out, offer compensation. He'd written back, progress doesn't negotiate. Proceed. 3 words that destroyed 6 years of her life. He found more. Photos of the gallery opening. Hilaire cutting a ribbon, radiant with hope. Reviews praising her eye for emerging artists, her ability to spot talent. Articles about her charity work, using art to help homeless youth. A feature in Art Monthly calling her the heart of Fifth Street's creative renaissance. He'd killed all of it without looking back. His computer pinged. Email from his head lawyer. Subject, custody case Monroe versus Locke. He opened it. Read through the preliminary filing. Hilaire wasn't just suing for custody. She was going after his company, claiming the divorce was signed under coercion and fraud. She had evidence. Emails proving he'd hidden assets during the divorce. Testimony from former employees about his affair with Miranda starting months before the separation. She'd been building this case for years. Quietly, patiently, waiting for the right moment to strike. His lawyer's advice, fight this hard. Discredit her. We can argue abandonment. Imply she's an unfit mother. Suggest the child may not even be yours. Character assassination, swift and total. It's ugly, but it works. Damien read it twice, then deleted the email. Fired his lawyer via text. He wasn't fighting her. Not anymore. The doorbell rang. He wasn't expecting anyone. Security should have stopped them. But when he opened the door, Miranda stood there in designer fury, all sharp edges and barely controlled rage. You hung up on me. I did. Do you understand what you've done to us? To me. She pushed past him, heels clicking on marble. I've spent 2 years building this life. The engagement, the wedding, merging our families. I was going to be Mrs. Damien Locke. Do you know what that means? The power, the connections, the status. He finished. That's all it ever was to you. She spun. Don't you dare. Don't you dare make this about me being shallow when you're the one who built everything on ambition. You wanted this. You wanted someone who understood the game, who played at your level. I gave you that. You gave me nothing real. Real? She laughed, cold and sharp. You want to talk about real? That woman left you. Walked away without a fight. And now, conveniently, when you're worth billions, she comes back with some sob story and a kid? Can't you see this is a setup? She's playing you. She's dying, Miranda. She collapsed raising our daughter alone while I was too busy building an empire to notice. So give her money. Write a check. Set up a trust fund, move on. You don't owe her your entire life. I owe her everything. Miranda's face went cold. Calculated. She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, then turned the screen toward him. A video, grainy, clearly recorded secretly. Him and Miranda, 3 years ago, before the divorce was even finalized. Kissing in his office, his hands in her hair, her laugh as she whispered something in his ear. I have 30 more videos like this, she said quietly. Time-stamped, dated, proving you were cheating on her for months before you filed. I also have records of you moving money into offshore accounts 2 weeks before the divorce. And testimony from 5 employees about your aggressive business practices, the kind that could trigger criminal investigations. The room went very still. If you throw me away for her, Miranda continued, voice like silk over razors, I will destroy you. I will give Hilaire every piece of evidence she needs. I will testify against you. I will make sure you lose everything. Your company, your custody case, your freedom. Do you understand me? He understood. Miranda wasn't just his fiancée. She was a weapon he'd built and aimed at himself. I also have this. She held up a flash drive. Security footage from the hospital. You, having a very emotional moment with your ex crying. Holding the child. Looking pathetic. I can spin this. Make you look unstable, unfit, dangerous. Or she smiled. I can make it go away. All of it. The videos, the evidence, the testimony. I can help you in custody. Keep your company, bury Hilaire back in the shadows where she belongs. What do you want? Marry me. Next month. Big wedding, international press. Lock this down before it spirals. We present a united front. Stable, strong, successful. I help you crush Alara in court. And in return, I become Mrs. Locke, with a prenup that's significantly more generous than our current one. She stepped closer, where you can play hero for a woman who hates you and a child who's barely yours. Your choice, Damien. Empire or ashes. She left the flash drive on the counter, walked to the door, paused. Tick-tock, she whispered. Clock's running. The door closed. Damien stood there, surrounded by everything he'd built, and realized he was about to make the first honest choice of his life. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. She's beautiful. Our daughter. Thank you for staying with her last night. Just that. Nothing more. But it was enough. He picked up the flash drive, walked to the balcony. 50 floors up, the city spread below like a kingdom he'd conquered. He threw the drive over the edge, watched it fall, let it go. Tomorrow, he'd face Miranda's wrath. Tomorrow, he'd start losing everything. But tonight, for the first time in years, Damien Locke felt like he could breathe. What would you sacrifice for a second chance? Let us know in the comments. The courtroom smelled like old wood and broken promises. Damien sat beside his new lawyer, a woman named Sarah Chun who'd looked at his case and said, "You're going to lose. The question is how much damage we can control." He'd hired her anyway. Miranda's lawyers, the sharks who'd promised to destroy Alara, had been fired 2 days after the ultimatum. Miranda hadn't taken it well. The video had leaked that morning. Him and Miranda, 3 years ago, timestamped 2 months before his divorce was finalized. The headline wrote itself. Billionaire's affair, timeline exposed. Was marriage destroyed by cheating? His stock had tanked another 8%. 3 board members had called for his resignation. 2 major investors had pulled out completely. His empire was bleeding, and everyone could smell the blood. But he'd expected it. Miranda was nothing if not efficient in revenge. Across the aisle, Alara sat with her lawyer, a bulldog of a man named Marcus Reed who'd made his career destroying wealthy men in family court. She wore a simple blue dress, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked fragile still, recovering, but her spine was steel. Hazel wasn't there. Too young for this. Staying with Claire. Probably better that way. The judge entered, a woman in her 60s with the tired eyes of someone who'd seen every ugly truth humanity had to offer. Case number 47382, Monroe versus Locke. Custody dispute and divorce settlement fraud. Let's begin. Reed stood up. All controlled aggression. Your Honor, we're here because my client was coerced into signing a divorce settlement while pregnant, abandoned, and emotionally devastated. Mr. Locke had begun an affair months before filing, moved assets to hide them from division, and left Ms. Monroe with nothing. She was forced to give up her rights under duress. We have evidence, Reed continued, pulling up documents on the screen. Emails, bank transfers, hotel receipts, every ugly piece of Damien's affair, time-stamped and undeniable. Mr. Locke systematically destroyed my client's life while building his empire. And now, 2 years later, when his child is sick and his ex-wife is struggling to survive, we're asking the court to correct this injustice. Sarah stood. Your Honor, Mr. Locke acknowledges his past mistakes. Mistakes? Reed interrupted. He calls destroying a woman's life and abandoning his daughter mistakes. The judge's gavel cracked. Mr. Reed, you'll have your time. Ms. Chun, continue. Sarah nodded. My client acknowledges his wrongdoing. He's not here to fight. He's here to make things right. The courtroom went silent. Even Reed looked surprised. Mr. Locke is prepared to voluntarily give Ms. Monroe everything she's asking for. Half his company, full retroactive child support, covering all medical expenses for Hazel, and restoring the value of the gallery his company destroyed. Additionally, she glanced at Damien. He nodded. He's establishing a trust fund for Hazel worth $50 million, accessible when she turns 18. Reed recovered quickly. Your Honor, while we appreciate the gesture, we're also seeking full custody. Mr. Locke has proven himself unfit. I'm not fighting custody either, Damien said, standing. Sarah touched his arm, warning, but he ignored her. Your Honor, I don't deserve shared custody. I don't deserve anything. I'm just asking for the chance to be in my daughter's life, in whatever capacity Ms. Monroe allows. Supervised visits, phone calls, whatever she's comfortable with. The judge studied him. Mr. Locke, do you understand you're giving up billions of dollars and any parental rights without a fight? Yes, Your Honor. And you're doing this willingly? It's the least I owe them. Alara stood suddenly. Your Honor, can I speak? The judge nodded. Alara turned to Damien. Her eyes were still cold, but something else flickered there. Confusion. Maybe respect. What? One word. It contained everything. Because I was wrong, Damien said. About everything. I thought success meant conquering, building, taking. I thought love was weakness, that you were holding me back. But the truth is, you were the only thing holding me together. And I threw it away for money and status and emptiness. He stepped closer, aware of everyone watching. I can't fix what I did. I can't give you back 2 years of struggle. I can't undemolish your gallery or erase the nights you worked yourself sick. But I can stop fighting. I can admit I was wrong. I can spend the rest of my life trying to be the man our daughter deserves, even if I never become the man you deserved. Alara's hand shook. You think money fixes this? No, nothing fixes this. But maybe his voice cracked. Maybe it's a start. Maybe it's me finally choosing you over my empire. 2 years too late, but still choosing. Reed whispered something to Alara. She shook her head, kept her eyes on Damien. I don't forgive you, she said quietly. I know. I don't trust you. I know. But she glanced at the judge, then back. Hazel asks about you. Every day. She draws pictures of you. She wants a father, even if I think she deserves better. She does deserve better. So prove it. Alara's voice was steel. Not with money. Not with grand gestures. Prove it by showing up. By being consistent. By putting her first, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when your empire is calling. I will. We'll see. The judge cleared her throat. Ms. Monroe, do you accept Mr. Locke's proposed settlement? Alara was quiet for a long moment. Then, yes, with conditions. He gets supervised visits twice a week for 6 months. After that, we reevaluate based on his actual behavior, not his promises. And if he misses even one visit, we're back in court. Agreed, Damien said immediately. The judge nodded. Very well. We'll formalize this agreement. Mr. Locke, I hope you understand the opportunity you're being given here. Most men in your position would have fought tooth and nail. The fact that you're not suggests either tremendous growth or tremendous manipulation. Time will tell which. The gavel cracked. Court adjourned. People started filing out. Reporters pushed forward, shouting questions. Security held them back. Damien ignored all of it, focused only on Alara. She was crying, silently, tears streaming down her face, but she wasn't making a sound. Alara, don't, she whispered. Just don't. I can't do this here. She turned and walked out, Reed following, leaving Damien in a courtroom full of strangers who just watched him give away half his life. Sarah came up beside him. That was either the bravest or dumbest thing I've ever seen a client do. Yeah, he said. I'm still figuring out which. His phone buzzed. Miranda, of course. A text. You'll regret this. I'm not done. He deleted it, blocked the number, walked out into a day that felt both ending and beginning. Outside, past the cameras and the questions and the chaos, he saw her. Alara, standing by a taxi, looking back at him. She didn't wave, didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. It was enough. For now, it was enough. If someone who hurt you tried to make amends, would you give them a second chance? Sound off below. The first visit was a disaster. Damien showed up at Alara's apartment with toys. Too many toys. A 4-foot teddy bear, a dollhouse that cost more than most cars, educational tablets, designer dresses. He'd spent $40,000 trying to buy his way into his daughter's heart. Hazel took one look at the mountain of gifts and hid behind her mother's legs. She doesn't need things, Alara said quietly, tiredly. She needs you. The supervised visit coordinator, a woman named Janet with kind eyes and a clipboard, nodded toward the living room. Mr. Locke, why don't you sit down? Hazel will come when she's ready. He sat on the worn couch, feeling ridiculous in his $3,000 suit surrounded by second-hand furniture. Alara's apartment was small, clean, filled with Hazel's drawings taped to every wall. A life built from scraps and love. Everything his penthouse wasn't. Hazel peeked around the corner, curious but cautious. "Did you think about your favorite animal yet?" The question caught him off guard. "What?" "At the hospital. I asked what your favorite animal was. You said you'd think about it." He had thought about it. Late at night, when he couldn't sleep, when the weight of his choices pressed down like concrete. "Elephants," he said, "because they never forget. And because you like them." She smiled. "Small, brief, but real. Can we draw elephants?" "I don't know how to draw." "It's easy. Mommy taught me. I can teach you." She came closer, pulled out crayons and paper from a box under the coffee table. Sat beside him, still keeping distance, but there. She drew an elephant. Lumpy, crooked, perfect. He tried to copy it. His looked like a gray blob with a snake attached. Hazel giggled. "That's terrible." "I know, but it's okay. You can practice." They drew for 20 minutes. Janet watched quietly. Alara stayed in the kitchen, giving them space but close enough to intervene. Every few minutes, Hazel would glance back at her mother, making sure she was still there, still safe. "Does your heart still hurt?" Damien asked, remembering what Claire had said. The defect, the treatments. Hazel touched her chest. "Sometimes, but Mommy says I'm brave. I get stickers at the doctor when I don't cry." "You are brave. Are you brave?" The question hit harder than it should have. "I'm trying to be." "Mommy cried a lot," Hazel said suddenly, focused still on her drawing. "Before. When I was little. She thought I was sleeping, but I heard her. She said your name when she cried. Why did you make her sad?" Janet shifted, ready to intervene, but Damien shook his head. The question deserved an answer. An honest one. "Because I was scared," he said. "I thought if I became important enough, powerful enough, I wouldn't be scared anymore. But it didn't work. I just hurt the people I loved." "Did you love Mommy?" "More than anything. I still do." Hazel looked at him, then really looked at him, with those eyes that saw everything. "Then why did you leave?" "Because I was stupid and selfish, and I thought I could find something better. But there's nothing better than family. I just learned that too late." She nodded, processing. "Mommy says it's never too late to be sorry. But you have to mean it." "I mean it." "Okay." She went back to drawing. Just like that. Kids forgave easier than adults. Or maybe they just loved easier, without the armor and scars grown-ups carried. The hour ended too quickly. Janet stood, professional but warm. "Same time Thursday, Mr. Locke." Hazel hugged her mother, then surprised everyone by turning to Damien. "Bye, Daddy." The word destroyed him. He'd been Mr. Locke, or that man, or him. But now Daddy. Like it was natural. Like he'd earned it. He hadn't. But he would. Outside, the evening air felt different. Cleaner. Real. His driver waited by the car, but Damien waved him off. Started walking. He needed to feel the city, the ground beneath him, the world beyond glass towers and boardrooms. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him. "Damien Locke." The voice was male, young, nervous. "Yes. This is Ryan Torres. I used to show my work at Monroe Studios. Before it was demolished." Damien stopped walking. "I remember. I signed the demolition order." "Yeah, I know." Pause. "I'm calling because I heard what happened. With Alara. And I wanted you to know, she changed my life. I was homeless, doing art on the street, and she gave me a show, sold 3 of my pieces, helped me get into community college. She did that for dozens of us. Kids nobody else believed in. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know who you hurt. Not just Alara. All of us." That gallery was his voice cracked. "It was hope, man. And you crushed it like it was nothing." The line went dead. Damien stood there on the sidewalk, people flowing around him, and realized the full scope of his destruction. It wasn't just Alara. It wasn't just Hazel. It was an entire community of artists, dreamers, people trying to build something real in a city that ate them alive. He'd killed all of it for luxury condos that stood half empty. A text from Sarah Chun. "Board meeting emergency. They're voting to remove you as CEO. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. His empire, crumbling right on schedule. Another text. This one from an unknown number. Enjoying your fall? This is just the beginning. M. Miranda. Still circling. Still attacking. A third text. This one from Alara. Thank you for today. Hazel talked about you for an hour after you left. She asked if you come back. I said yes. Don't make me a liar. He looked up at the city, his kingdom turning against him, and texted back, I'll be there. Every time. I promise. Then he called his assistant. Cancel all meetings tomorrow. I have somewhere more important to be. Sir, the board would do what they'll do. I'm done fighting for the wrong things. He hung up, kept walking. Somewhere in this city was a construction site where Monroe Studios used to stand. He needed to see it, needed to face what he destroyed, because maybe, just maybe, he could build something better in its place. Have you ever realized too late what you destroyed? Tell us in the comments. The construction site was dark, wrapped in chain link and shadow. Damien stood across the street, staring at the half-finished luxury building that had replaced Monroe Studios. The sign promised executive living in the heart of Art District. The irony was poison. They'd killed the art to sell the fantasy of living near art. His phone buzzed constantly. Board members, lawyers, investors. All vultures sensing death. The vote was in 8 hours. They'd strip him of his CEO position, maybe force him out entirely. The company he'd built from nothing, about to erase him like he never existed. Karma worked fast. Thought I'd find you here. He turned. Alara stood behind him, wrapped in a thin jacket, looking exhausted but present. Real. How did you? Claire followed you. Called me. Said you looked like you might do something stupid. She came closer, studied the building. That's where my gallery was. Right there, where they're putting in the gym. I know. 6 years of work. Erased in 3 days. I know. She was quiet then. Why are you here, Damien? I needed to see it. To understand what I did. And? Do you understand? He thought about Ryan's call. About the dozens of other artists whose lives had been changed by Alara's belief in them. About the community she'd built while he'd been building towers. I understand I destroyed something irreplaceable for something worthless. Alara laughed, sharp and bitter. Now you get it. 2 years late, but sure, now you get it. I want to rebuild it. She stared at him. What? Your gallery. I want to rebuild it. Bigger. Better. Fully funded. You control everything. The artists, the shows, the mission. I just provide the money and stay out of your way. You think you could just, what? Buy forgiveness? Throw money at the problem until I forget what you did. No. I think I can spend the rest of my life trying to fix what I broke. And I think this is where I start. She shook her head, but he saw something flicker in her eyes. Not forgiveness. Not even close. But maybe the first seed of possibility. They're voting you out tomorrow, she said. Claire told me. Your whole empire crashing down. And you're here, talking about rebuilding my gallery. Yeah. Why? Because the empire was built on sand. But what you created, that was real. That mattered. That changed lives. He turned to face her fully. I can't undo what I did to you. To us. But maybe I can stop destroying things and start building something that actually means something. A car pulled up. Mercedes, sleek and black. Miranda stepped out, all sharp edges and calculated fury. She'd found him. How touching, she said, voice dripping venom. The fallen king and his charity case, standing in the ruins. Very poetic. Alara tensed. Damien stepped between them instinctively. Miranda smiled. Don't worry, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to offer one last deal. Take me back, marry me next month, and I'll help you survive tomorrow's vote. I have dirt on 3 board members. Enough to keep you in power. No, don't be stupid. Without the company, you're nothing. Just another rich boy who inherited daddy's money and got lucky. That empire is your identity, Damien. It's who you are. No, he said again, calmer. It's who I was. That man is dead. Miranda's eyes narrowed. Fine. Then watch everything burn. She pulled out her phone, showed him the screen. I'm releasing everything tomorrow morning. Every video, every email, every dirty secret about how you built your company. Securities fraud, insider trading, bribery. All of it. The SEC will be at your door by noon. Alara gasped. That could put him in prison. Exactly. Miranda looked at Damien. Last chance. Me or jail? What's it going to be? The city hummed around them. Traffic, sirens, life continuing while his world hung in balance. Damien thought about Hazel's drawing, her calling him daddy. The first real thing he'd felt in years. Do what you need to do, he said. Miranda's smile faltered. You're choosing prison over me? I'm choosing the truth over more lies. If I go to jail, I go to jail. At least I'll go knowing I finally stopped running. You're insane. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally sane. Miranda looked between them, searching for weakness, for leverage. Found none. You'll regret this. Both of you. She got back in her car, drove off into the night, taking his last escape route with her. Alara stared at him. Did you actually commit fraud? Some of it. Yeah. Early days, when I was desperate to succeed. Bent rules, crossed lines. Nothing violent, but not legal either. So you might actually go to prison. Probably. And you chose that over making a deal with her. I chose being honest over being powerful. First time in my life. She was quiet for so long he thought she'd walk away. Instead, she said the gallery. What about it? If you're serious, if you really want to rebuild it, I have conditions. Real ones, not just money. Name them. You donate half the space to young artists. Free studio time, free shows, free mentorship. You fund scholarships for art students who can't afford school. And you name it after Hazel, so she knows her father built something that mattered. His throat tightened. Done. And one more thing. Alara looked at him, eyes clear. You tell her the truth. When she's old enough, you tell Hazel everything. The affair, the divorce, the destruction. All of it. She deserves to know who her father really was. And who I'm trying to become. That's up to you to prove. Behind them, the construction site stood dark and hollow. Tomorrow, his empire might fall. The day after, federal agents might show up with handcuffs. But tonight, standing in the ruins of what he destroyed, Damien felt something he hadn't in years. Hope. I'll see you Thursday, Alara said, turning to go. For the visit. Don't be late. I won't be. She paused. Damien? For what it's worth, what you did tonight, choosing truth over escape. Hazel will be proud of that. Someday. She walked away, leaving him alone with his choices and his consequences. His phone rang. Sarah Chun. Damien, we need to talk about tomorrow. There might be a way to... No deals, he said. No fighting. I'm done playing games. You understand you'll lose everything? No, I'm finally gaining what matters. He hung up, looked at the construction site one more time, then pulled out his phone and started making calls. Architects, contractors, the best gallery designers in the country. If he was going down, he'd go down building instead of destroying. For once in his life, he'd create something that could outlive his mistakes. Would you risk everything for a chance at redemption? Let us know below. The board meeting was a public execution dressed in corporate language. Damien sat at the head of the table, 12 faces staring at him with varying degrees of contempt, pity, and satisfaction. Miranda had kept her promise. The news had broken at 6 a.m. Lock Empire built on fraud. Full investigation launched. Stock had opened down 23%. Federal investigators had already requested documents. 3 major clients had terminated contracts before breakfast. Mr. Locke, Chairman Stevens began, voice heavy with disappointment. We've reviewed the allegations. While nothing is proven yet, the damage to our reputation is catastrophic. We're calling for an immediate vote of no confidence. Damien nodded. I understand. You're not going to fight this? Stevens looked surprised. No, you're right. I built this company on ambition and ruthlessness. I destroyed people and called it progress. I valued profit over principle. Everything that's happening now, I earned it. The room went silent. However, Damien continued, before you vote, I want to announce my resignation, effective immediately. I'm also establishing a foundation with my personal assets, whatever's left after the investigations. It'll be called the Hazel Locke Foundation for the Arts, dedicated to supporting young artists and rebuilding communities destroyed by aggressive development. Stevens frowned. You're walking away? Just like that. I'm walking towards something better. Finally, the vote was unanimous. They stripped him of everything: CEO title, board seat, company influence. He signed the papers without reading them. Sarah kept trying to slow him down, make him negotiate, but he waved her off. It was done in 30 minutes. A decade of building, erased in half an hour. He walked out into a mob of reporters. Cameras flashing, questions shouted. He ignored them all, headed for his car. But then he stopped. Turn back. One statement, he said. The crowd pressed closer, microphones thrust forward like weapons. I spent 10 years building an empire on broken people and broken promises. I told myself success justified everything. I was wrong. To everyone I hurt, especially Alara Monroe and our daughter Hazel, I'm sorry. Not the empty kind of sorry that comes with PR training. The real kind, the kind that costs everything. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just choosing, for once in my life, to tell the truth. He turned away from questions, got in his car, drove straight to Alara's apartment. It was Tuesday, not his scheduled day, but he didn't care about schedules anymore. She answered the door, shocked. What are you doing here? Can I see her? Just for a minute. Alara studied him. Whatever she saw on his face made her step aside. She's coloring in her room. Hazel looked up when he entered, face brightening. Daddy, you're early. The words still hit him like lightning. Hey, sweetheart, I wanted to see you. Did you practice drawing elephants? No, but I did something else. He sat beside her on the floor. I built something for you. For me? Well, it's going to be built. A gallery for artists. People who create beautiful things. And it's going to be named after you. The Hazel Lock Gallery. Her eyes went wide. Really? Like Mommy's old gallery? Better than Mommy's old gallery. Bigger, with more space for more artists. Because you deserve to have something beautiful in the world with your name on it. Hazel threw her arms around him. Small, fierce, complete. Thank you, Daddy. He held her, this tiny person who'd forgiven him without conditions, and felt something break inside him. The last piece of armor, the final wall. It crumbled, and for the first time since he was a child, Damien Locke cried. I'm sorry, he whispered, for not being here, for missing so much. It's okay, Hazel said, patting his back like comforting a sad child. You're here now. That's what Mommy says matters. Not before. Now. Alara stood in the doorway, tears on her face too. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something softer than hate. Something that might grow into grace, given time. His phone buzzed. Sarah, federal agents at your office. They want to talk. Call me. He turned it off. Let the empire finish burning. Can I stay for dinner? He asked Alara. I know it's not scheduled, but it's spaghetti night. Hazel's favorite. You can stay. They ate at a small table in a small apartment with plastic plates and too much garlic bread. Hazel told stories about preschool, about her best friend Emma, about the butterfly she'd seen that morning. Normal, simple, real. Everything his old life wasn't. After dinner, after Hazel went to bed clutching her elephant drawing, Alara poured 2 glasses of cheap wine. They sat on the couch, careful space between them. They're going to prosecute you, she said quietly. Aren't they? Probably. Sarah thinks 18 months minimum, maybe 3 years if they find everything. And you're okay with that? I committed the crimes. I should pay for them. Alara swirled her wine. You've changed. I don't know if I trust it yet, but you've changed. I had to. The old me was dying anyway. At least this way, something better might grow from the ashes. Miranda's going to keep coming. She won't stop until she's destroyed both of us. Let her try. I'm done fighting wars. I'm just going to love my daughter and try to make amends. That's it. That's my whole plan. Alara laughed, surprising them both. That's the dumbest business strategy I've ever heard. Good thing I'm not in business anymore. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes after storms, when the rain has stopped, but everything's still wet and clean and new. The gallery, Alara said finally. If you're serious about rebuilding it, I want to help design it. Not just take your money. Partner with you. Equal partners. Even after everything, because of everything. You destroyed my dream once. This time, we build it together. That way, you can't demolish it without destroying yourself too. Deal. She held out her hand. He shook it. Her fingers were warm, real, alive with possibility. A knock on the door. 2 federal agents, badges out, faces apologetic but firm. Damien Locke, we need you to come with us. just for questioning. He stood, looked at Alara. Tell Hazel I'll see her Thursday. Don't let her think I abandon her again. I won't. And Damien? She walked to the door. Thank you for finally showing up. The agents led him out into the night. Past cameras, past reporters, past the empire he'd built and lost. But when he looked back, Alara was still standing in the doorway, watching. Not with love, not yet. But maybe someday with something close. It was enough. For now, it was enough. Can someone really change? Or are we always who we've always been? Share your thoughts. Prison was a teacher Damien never expected. 18 months in a minimum security facility. White-collar criminals, failed executives, men who'd believe the rules didn't apply to them. Every single one of them was him, just with different faces. He spent his days in the library, working on the gallery plans. Alara sent updated designs every week, annotated with her notes, her vision. They communicated through letters now, old-fashioned and slow, but somehow more real than emails had ever been. She told him about Hazel's progress. Her heart was stable. The treatments were working. She'd started kindergarten and made friends and asked about Daddy every single day. Claire sent photos. Hazel missing her front teeth. Hazel dressed as an elephant for Halloween. Hazel holding a ribbon from her school art show. First place, beaming with pride. He missed all of it, but he could see it at least. Could know his daughter was thriving without him. That was something. His cellmate was a former hedge fund manager named Marcus who defrauded investors of $40 million. You really gave it all up? Marcus asked one night. The company, the money, the woman? Yeah. For what? An ex-wife who hates you and a kid you barely know. For the chance to be someone worth knowing. Marcus laughed. You're either enlightened or insane. Both, probably. The letters from Hazel were crayon masterpieces. Drawings of elephants, of flowers, of her and Mommy and Daddy holding hands. She wrote in crooked letters, I miss you. Come home soon. Love, Hazel. He kept every single one. They covered his cell wall, a gallery of innocence and hope. Miranda had gone quiet. No more threats, no more attacks. Rumor was she'd moved to Dubai, married some oil baron, was living the life she'd always wanted. Good for her. Damien hoped she found whatever she was looking for. 6 months in, Alara visited. She looked different, stronger, healthier. Her gallery was open again, thriving in a temporary space while the new building was being constructed. The Hazel Lot Gallery was already making waves, representing 30 young artists, all from disadvantaged backgrounds. It's working, she told him across the visiting room table. The foundation, the scholarships, the mentorship program. We're changing lives, Damien. Real lives. That was always you. I just wrote the checks. No, it's us. You surrendered everything to make this happen. That matters. They talked about Hazel, about her heart checkup going well, about her wanting to learn piano. Damien listened, hungry for every detail of the life continuing without him. She asked when you're coming home. Alara said quietly, I tell her soon. Another year. I'll be out in a year. And then what? Then I spend the rest of my life being the father she deserves. And figuring out how to exist in the same world as you without asking for more than you can give. Alara was quiet. Then, I've been thinking about forgiveness. What it means, what it costs. And I realized I was holding on to the pain because it was the only power I had left. The only way to make you hurt like you hurt me. I understand that. But Hazel, she loves you. Completely. Without reservation. And watching her love you, even knowing what you did, it's teaching me something. About grace. About moving forward. You don't have to forgive me, Alara. You don't owe me that. I know. But maybe I'm ready to try. Not today. Not tomorrow. But someday. Because holding on to hate is exhausting. And I'm tired of being tired. A guard called time. 5 more minutes. There's something else, Alara said, pulling out papers. The new gallery. We're opening in 6 months. And I want you there. Not as a donor. Not as the guy who funded it. As my partner. As Hazel's father. She hesitated. As someone I'm learning to trust again. I'll be there. Even if I have to walk out of here and straight to the opening. She smiled. You better. Hazel's already planning her outfit. She says Daddy needs to see her fancy dress. The guard came closer. Final call. Alara stood, then did something unexpected. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Brief, warm, real. Keep being this person, she said. The one who chose truth over empire. That's the man I might be able to love again someday. She walked away, leaving Damien sitting alone with hope blooming in his chest like spring after winter. Marcus whistled low. That woman loves you, man. She doesn't want to, but she does. Maybe. Or maybe she just loves the man I'm becoming. Same thing, isn't it? Damien looked at the crayon drawings on his cell wall, at his daughter's smile frozen in time, at the evidence of a life being built while he paid for his past. Yeah, he said. Maybe it is. The months crawled by. He took classes, got certifications in nonprofit management, learned everything he could about running charitable foundations, wrote business plans for the gallery's expansion, sketched ideas for artist residency programs, built a future from a prison cell. Finally, release day arrived. Damien walked out into morning sun wearing donated clothes, carrying a folder of Hazel's drawings. No reporters this time. No cameras. Just Seraph Chun waiting with a car. You survived, she said. Barely. Ready for the real world? He looked at the folder in his hands. Ready for my daughter. Everything else is just details. They drove to the gallery opening. The Hazel Lock Gallery stood gleaming in afternoon light, all glass and open space and promise. A crowd had gathered. Artists, students, community members. People whose lives had been touched by second chances. And there, at the entrance, stood Alara in a blue dress. Beside her, Hazel in yellow, bouncing with excitement. Damien stepped out of the car. Hazel saw him and ran, all speed and joy and pure love. He caught her, lifted her, held on like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. You came, she squealed. You came. I promised, didn't I? You kept your promise. Alara approached, slower, careful. But when she reached them, she smiled. Not the cold smile from before. A real one, warm and cautious and hopeful. Welcome home, she said. Thank you. For this. For all of it. We built it together, remember? Partners. Inside, the gallery thrived with life. Art covering every wall. Young faces bright with possibility. The sound of creation humming through the space. Everything his old empire wasn't. Everything that mattered. Hazel pulled him from painting to painting, explaining each one with the wisdom of a 6-year-old art critic. Alara walked beside them, not touching but close. Present. Open. At the center of the gallery, a plaque. The Hazel Lock Gallery, where second chances build first dreams. Below it, a smaller inscription, founded by Alara Monroe and Damien Locke. May we always choose creation over destruction. Damien read it 3 times, eyes burning. It's perfect, he whispered. It's a beginning, Alara corrected. The rest is up to us. Hazel tugged his hand. Daddy, come see my painting. It's hanging on the wall. A real wall. He let his daughter lead him forward, into the gallery they'd built from ashes, toward a future that looked nothing like his past. And for the first time in his entire life, Damien Locke felt like he'd finally succeeded at something that mattered. Sometimes the biggest success comes from your greatest failure. Do you agree? Comment below. 5 years later, the annual Hazel Lock Foundation Gala had become the art world's most prestigious event, not because of money or status, but because of what it represented: redemption, second chances, the power of creation over destruction. Damien stood at the edge of the ballroom, watching artists he'd helped mentor present their work to collectors and curators. Faces bright with hope, with possibility. Everything he destroyed years ago, rebuilt and thriving. You're doing that thing again, Alara said, appearing beside him. She wore red tonight, stunning and confident. Everything she'd been when he first met her, and then some. What thing? Standing in the shadows, watching instead of participating. You helped build this. You're allowed to enjoy it. Old habits. I spent so many years taking credit for things I didn't deserve. Now I'm afraid to claim credit for things I did. She laughed, warm and real. They'd grown comfortable together over the years. Not married again. She'd been clear about that boundary. But partners in the foundation, co-parents to Hazel, friends slowly becoming something more. Time healed differently than anyone expected. "Where's Hazel?" he asked. "Terrorizing the caterers, probably." She wanted to make sure they got the vegan options right. Their daughter had grown into a force of nature. 11 years old, heart healthy and strong, already advocating for young artists like her mother had. She'd inherited Alera's passion and Damien's determination, combined into something beautiful. Movement at the entrance. Miranda walked in, unexpected, uninvited, but somehow inevitable. She looked the same, polished, sharp, dangerous. But something had shifted in her eyes. Weariness, maybe, or regret. She approached directly, no games. "Damien." "Alera." "Miranda." Alera's voice was neutral, but Damien noticed her hand finding his. Instinctive. Protective. "I'm not here to cause problems," Miranda said quickly. "I'm here to," she laughed bitter. "I don't even know why I'm here. Maybe because I saw what you built, and I realized I've spent 5 years building nothing. Just moving from one rich man to another, one country to another, always empty." "What do you want?" Damien asked, not unkind. "Closure, maybe? To see you happy and realize I was wrong? To admit that everything I destroyed was because I couldn't stand watching you choose something real over me." She looked around the gallery. "This is beautiful, what you've created together. I could have been part of something like this, but I was too busy trying to win." Alera surprised them both by saying, "There's a piece in the North Wing, by an artist who was homeless for 3 years before we gave her a show. It's about forgiveness. You should see it." Miranda nodded, grateful, and drifted away into the crowd. "That was kind," Damien said. "I had good teachers." Alera squeezed his hand. "Turns out holding on to hate just makes you tired. And I'm done being tired." Hazel appeared, dragging a young boy behind her. "Mom, Dad, this is Marcus. His art got accepted into our youth program. He's amazing." The boy looked nervous, maybe 12, clutching a portfolio like a lifeline. "My stuff's not that good." "It's incredible," Hazel insisted. "Show them." They looked through his sketches, raw, powerful, full of pain and hope. Street scenes, faces, moments of beauty caught in hardship. "These are remarkable," Alera said. "Where did you learn?" "Nowhere. Just drew what I saw. That's the best teacher there is." She looked at Damien. He nodded. "Marcus, how would you like to be featured in our next show? Give you a whole wall, help you frame and present your work professionally?" The boy's eyes went wide. "Seriously? But I'm nobody." "You're an artist," Damien said. "That's all you need to be." Hazel beamed. "See? I told you my parents were cool." They spent the next hour with Marcus and 3 other young artists Hazel had found, talking about technique, vision, the business of art, building the next generation. Later, when the gala had wound down and most guests had left, Damien and Alera stood in the center of the empty gallery. Hazel had fallen asleep on a couch in the office, exhausted from playing hostess. 5 years, Alera said. "Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. Sometimes like yesterday. Do you ever regret it? Giving me another chance?" She considered. "Honestly, sometimes. When I remember how much it hurt, how lost I was. But then I look at Hazel, at this place, at what we've built together, and I think maybe some things have to break completely before they can be rebuilt better. I'm still rebuilding." "I know." She turned to face him. "But that's the point, isn't it? You're not trying to go back to who you were. You're becoming someone new. That's what makes this work." Music still played softly through the speakers. Some jazz piece Alera had selected, smooth and melancholy and hopeful all at once. "Dance with me," Damien said suddenly. "What?" "Dance with me. Here. Now. In the gallery we built from ruins." She hesitated, then stepped into his arms. They swayed slowly, no one watching, no cameras, no performance. Just 2 people who destroyed each other and somehow found their way back to something real. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know I don't get to say that. I know I lost that right years ago. But it's true. Not the desperate, selfish love from before. Something quieter, steadier. The kind that shows up every day and doesn't ask for anything back." Alera rested her head on his shoulder. "I know. I've known for a while. And I'm not there yet. But I'm closer than I was. Maybe someday I'll be able to say it back and mean it the way I used to. Or maybe I'll mean it in a completely different way. I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. That's enough. More than enough. They danced until the song ended. Then another, and another, building something fragile and precious in the silence between them. A sleepy voice from the doorway. Are you guys finally getting back together? Hazel stood there, rubbing her eyes, smiling like she'd discovered a secret. We're figuring it out, sweetheart, Elara said. Good, because I already told Emma that my parents loved each other. I didn't want to be a liar. She patted over, squeezed between them, wrapped her arms around both. They stood there, the three of them, a family built from broken pieces and second chances. Can we get ice cream on the way home? Hazel asked. I feel like we should celebrate. Celebrate what? Damien asked. Everything. The gala was amazing. Marcus is going to be famous. And you guys danced. That's worth ice cream. Elara laughed. Ice cream it is. They locked up the gallery together, Hazel chattering between them about her plans for next year's gala, about the new artists she wanted to recruit, about everything and nothing. Normal. Simple. Perfect. As they walked to the car, Damien looked back at the building. The Hazel Lock Gallery, lit up against the night sky. A beacon for broken people trying to create something beautiful. His empire had fallen. His name had been dragged through every kind of mud. He'd lost billions, spent time in prison, destroyed relationships and trust, and everything he'd built in his old life. And standing here, hand in hand with his daughter, Elara walking beside them with something like trust in her eyes, he'd never felt richer. Dad, Hazel asked as they reached the car. Yes, sweetheart. Do you think elephants ever forget the bad stuff? Or do they just remember the good things eventually? He thought about it. About all the nights in prison, all the guilt, all the pain of facing what he'd done. About how those memories hadn't disappeared, but they'd been joined by new ones. Better ones. Hazel's laughter. Elara's slowly warming smiles. The artists whose lives they'd changed. I think they remember everything, he said. But maybe the good memories start to shine brighter than the bad ones. Eventually. I like that, Hazel said, climbing into the back seat. That's what's happening to us, right? The good stuff is getting brighter. Yeah, baby. That's exactly what's happening. Elara started the car. Before pulling out, she reached over and took his hand. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. The gesture said everything. They drove through the city toward ice cream and home. Three people who'd survived the worst and found something better on the other side. Not perfect, not erased, but healing. And sometimes, healing was the greatest revenge of all. Not against someone else, but against the darkness that tried to convince you happiness was impossible. The city lights blurred past. In the rearview mirror, Damien could see Hazel falling asleep again, peaceful and safe. Beside him, Elara hummed along to the radio, relaxed in a way she'd never been in their first marriage. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me. For letting me be part of this. For showing me what actually matters. You showed yourself, Damien. I just stopped standing in your way. They pulled into the ice cream shop. Hazel woke up immediately, energized by the promise of dessert. They ordered cones, chocolate for Hazel, strawberry for Elara, vanilla for Damien because he discovered he liked simple things now. They sat outside on a bench, the three of them, eating ice cream under streetlights while the city moved around them. Rich people in expensive cars drove past. Executives rushed to late meetings. The machinery of ambition and power churned on. But Damien was here, with melting vanilla ice cream and his daughter's sticky hand in his and Elara's shoulder brushing his, and he'd never been further from that world. Never been happier to have lost everything. Next week, Hazel announced through a mouthful of chocolate, "We're doing career day at school. Can you both come? And talk about the gallery?" Both of us. Elara asked. Yeah, because you're a team now, right? She looked at Damien. He looked back. Something unspoken passed between them. Not love yet, maybe, but partnership. Trust. The foundation of something that could become love again, given time. Right, they said together. Hazel grinned, triumphant. Told you. Team. They finished their ice cream. Drove home through streets Damien had once commanded from penthouse towers. Now he saw them differently, not as territory to conquer, but as communities to serve. Not as empire, but as home. At Alara's apartment, Hazel hugged him goodnight. Love you, Daddy. See you Thursday, and Saturday, and whenever you need me. That's every day then. Good. Every day it is. She went inside. Alara lingered on the doorstep, the space between them comfortable now instead of painful. She's right, Alara said. About us being a team. I know, and teams trust each other. They do. So when I say I'm starting to forgive you, when I say that someday, maybe soon, I might be ready for more than partnership, you'll trust that I mean it? His heart stopped. Started again. I'll trust it. Good. She smiled, stood on tiptoes, kissed his cheek. Brief. Warm. Promising. Now go home. Get some rest. We have a youth workshop tomorrow, and those kids will eat you alive if you're not sharp. Yes, ma'am. He walked to his car, a modest sedan now, nothing like the fleet of luxury vehicles he used to own. Started the engine, looked back at the apartment building where his daughter slept, and his almost again love stood watching. Waved. She waved back. Drove away into a night full of possibility. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about building something so beautiful, so real, so meaningful that it proves the person who hurt you wrong about everything. Alara had gotten her revenge, not through courts or scandal or public humiliation, through peace, through thriving, through watching Damien lose everything he valued and discover what actually mattered. And Damien had gotten his redemption, not through grand gestures or throwing money at problems, through showing up, day after day, building instead of destroying, choosing truth over image. They both won by losing everything. In a penthouse across the city, Miranda stood alone with expensive wine and empty rooms, finally understanding what she'd sacrificed for status. In a prison somewhere, other men were making the same mistakes Damien had, believing power mattered more than people. In boardrooms everywhere, empires were being built on broken hearts and broken promises, doomed to collapse under their own emptiness. But in a small apartment where crayon drawings covered the walls, a little girl slept peacefully, knowing both her parents loved her. And in a gallery that bore her name, young artists were discovering that someone believed in them, that their creativity mattered, that second chances were real. Silent justice wasn't loud, wasn't flashy, didn't make headlines or break the internet. It was just peace built one day at a time, until the good memories finally outshone the bad. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. What would you build from your ashes? What second chance are you still waiting to take? This is the end of Damien and Alara's story, but every ending is someone else's beginning. If this story touched you, moved you, made you think about your own choices, subscribe to our channel so you never miss another journey of redemption, revenge, and the quiet power of rebuilding. Hit that notification bell, because next week we're bringing you a story about a woman who turned her betrayal into an empire, and you won't want to miss how she made the people who destroyed her beg to be part of her success. Drop a comment below telling us, have you ever had to lose everything to find what really mattered? Your story might inspire someone else who's in their darkest moment right now, wondering if they can ever come back from rock bottom. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to choose differently. That redemption is real. That sometimes the best revenge is becoming someone you're proud of. Until next time, remember that power built on broken hearts always falls, but love built on truth stands forever. Subscribe, share, and never stop believing in second chances.